Adolf Hitler, the name alone evokes a chill down the spine of humanity's capacity for darkness. His reign, though relatively short, left an indelible scar on the world. We remember him for the horrors of the Holocaust, the systematic genocide that claimed millions of innocent lives. His name is synonymous with war, with the devastation that engulfed Europe and beyond. Yet to truly understand the depths of his depravity, we must delve deeper. We must go beyond the well-trodden path of common knowledge and uncover the hidden, the obscure, the unsettling truths that lurk beneath the surface. This essay aims to illuminate those dark corners of Hitler's life. We will unearth the lesser-known facts, the unsettling anecdotes, and the chilling realities that shaped his ideology and fueled his terrifying ambition. This is not an attempt to humanize a monster. It is rather a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the ever-present potential for evil to take root. By understanding the man behind the atrocities, we arm ourselves with the knowledge to recognize and combat the seeds of hatred and intolerance wherever they may sprout. The world must never forget the lessons learned from the ashes of the Third Reich. For in remembering, we honor the victims and vow to never again allow such darkness to consume our world. This is the story of Adolf Hitler, unveiled. To understand the monster, we must first look at the man, and to understand the man, we must journey back to his beginnings, to the very roots of his troubled youth. Adolf Hitler's early life was marked by turbulence and discontent, a breeding ground for the resentment and anger that would later consume him. His childhood was a complex tapestry of conflicting emotions and experiences. Born in the small Austrian town of Braunau am Inn in 1889, his childhood was far from idyllic. The quaint town, with its serene landscapes, belied the stormy atmosphere within the Hitler household. His father, Alois, was a strict and often abusive customs official, while his mother, Clara, showered him with affection, perhaps in an attempt to compensate for his father's harshness. This created a confusing environment for young Adolf, who was torn between fear and love. This stark contrast created a dichotomy in young Adolf's life. He was caught in a web of conflicting emotions, struggling to reconcile the harsh discipline of his father with the nurturing care of his mother. He both craved and resented authority, a conflict that would manifest in his later years. This internal struggle was evident in his behavior and interactions with those around him. His relationship with his father was particularly strained. Alois's authoritarian nature clashed with Adolf's growing sense of independence and desire for self-expression. Alois dreamed of Adolf following in his footsteps as a civil servant, a prospect that filled the young man with disdain. The rigid structure of such a career was the antithesis of what Adolf envisioned for himself. He yearned for a life of creativity, fancying himself an artist, a vision his father met with scorn and ridicule. This rejection of his artistic aspirations only deepened the rift between them. School offered little solace for the young Hitler. The rigid educational system did not cater to his creative inclinations, further alienating him from his peers and teachers. He excelled in some subjects, particularly history and geography, where his teachers noted a keen intellect and a thirst for knowledge. These subjects allowed him to escape into worlds of his own making. However, he struggled in others and was often disruptive, clashing with teachers who attempted to enforce discipline. His rebellious nature made it difficult for him to conform to the expectations of the educational system. This further fueled his resentment of authority and his belief that he was somehow above the rules that bound others. He saw himself as a misunderstood genius, destined for greatness. These formative years, marked by conflict and a sense of unfulfilled potential, planted the seeds of anger and resentment that would later blossom into something far more sinister. The unresolved tensions of his youth would eventually find expression in his adult life. The troubled youth, harboring dreams of grandeur and nursing wounds of perceived injustices, would soon find an outlet for his frustrations on a much larger and tragically far more devastating stage. His early experiences shaped the man he would become, setting the stage for the horrors that would follow. As Hitler climbed the ranks of the Nazi Party, his public persona became increasingly contrived, meticulously crafted to project an image of invincibility and unwavering authority. He cultivated an image of unwavering strength and decisiveness, a charismatic leader capable of uniting a fractured nation. His speeches were designed to stir emotions and rally the masses, creating an almost hypnotic effect on his followers. Yet, behind this carefully constructed facade lay a man of peculiar habits and unsettling obsessions, a stark contrast to the public figure he presented. While many dictators throughout history have exhibited eccentricities, Hitler's were often bizarre and provided unsettling glimpses into the workings of his mind. His peculiarities were not just quirks, but deeply ingrained aspects of his personality. One of his most peculiar habits was his aversion to direct sunlight, a trait that puzzled many who observed him. He preferred to keep his offices dimly lit and often wore sunglasses, even indoors. This behavior was not just a matter of personal preference, but seemed to be a calculated effort to maintain a certain mystique. Some historians believe this stemmed from a fear of bright light, while others speculate it was a way to control his image, adding an air of mystery and intrigue. This aversion to light was just one of many ways he sought to manipulate how he was perceived. He was also deeply preoccupied with his diet, adhering to a strict vegetarian regimen and employing a team of food tasters to ensure his meals were not poisoned. This obsession with his diet was not merely about health, but also about control and paranoia. His obsession with cleanliness was another defining trait, reflecting his need for order in his immediate surroundings. He carried a silver-plated toothbrush and a collapsible cup with him at all times and insisted on washing his hands frequently throughout the day. This compulsive behavior extended to his personal hygiene, which he maintained with almost ritualistic fervor. This compulsion for cleanliness stood in stark contrast to the horrors he inflicted upon the world, a chilling reminder of the disconnect between his carefully curated public image and the darkness that festered within. The pristine environments he maintained were a stark juxtaposition to the chaos and destruction he orchestrated. These seemingly insignificant details, when pieced together, paint a portrait of a deeply complex and deeply troubled individual. They reveal a man whose need for control extended to every aspect of his life, from his public persona to his private habits. Hitler's eccentricities were more than mere quirks. They were windows into a mind consumed by paranoia, control, and a profound disconnect from the realities of the world around him. His behaviors were manifestations of a psyche that was both deeply disturbed and meticulously calculating. Section 4. The Puppet Master, Hitler's hidden hand in power. While Hitler's rise to power is often attributed to his charisma and oratory skills, the reality is far more nuanced and complex. Behind the fiery speeches and impassioned rallies lay a shrewd political mind, adept at manipulating events to his advantage. He was not just a figurehead, but a master strategist. He understood the power of propaganda and used it masterfully, shaping public opinion and demonizing his opponents with chilling effectiveness. His propaganda machine was relentless, ensuring that his message reached every corner of Germany. One of his lesser-known political maneuvers involved the Reichstag fire in 1933, a pivotal moment in his ascent to absolute power. The burning of the German parliament building, blamed on a Dutch communist, provided Hitler with the pretext to consolidate his power. This event was a turning point, allowing him to push through the Reichstag fire decree. He used the incident to suspend civil liberties, arrest political opponents, and install himself as the undisputed leader of Germany. The decree effectively nullified many civil liberties and allowed for the arrest of anyone deemed a threat. While the exact cause of the fire remains a subject of debate, many historians believe it was a carefully orchestrated act of arson, designed to eliminate opposition and pave the way for Hitler's dictatorship. This theory suggests a level of premeditation and cunning that underscores Hitler's ruthless ambition. Another example of his cunning was his use of the stab-in-the-back myth, a narrative that played on the emotions and frustrations of the German people. This insidious propaganda claimed that Germany had not lost World War I on the battlefield, but had been betrayed by internal enemies, namely Jews and communists. This myth was a powerful tool in Hitler's arsenal, allowing him to unite the populace against a common enemy. This narrative resonated with a population still reeling from the humiliation of defeat and economic hardship, providing a convenient scapegoat for Germany's woes. The economic instability and social unrest of the Weimar Republic created fertile ground for such divisive rhetoric. Through these calculated moves, Hitler transformed Germany from a fledgling democracy into a totalitarian state. His ability to manipulate public sentiment and political structures was unparalleled. He silenced dissent, crushed opposition, and instilled an atmosphere of fear and paranoia. The Gestapo and SS were instrumental in maintaining this climate of terror. His tactics, though often brutal, proved tragically effective, demonstrating his keen understanding of power dynamics and his ruthless determination to seize and maintain control. Hitler's legacy is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating impact of totalitarian rule. Section 5. The Inner Circle Bonds of Ambition and Fear. No dictator rises to power alone. Hitler surrounded himself with a coterie of loyal followers, individuals drawn to his ideology or seduced by the allure of power. These men, each with their own ambitions and motivations, became the architects of the Third Reich. Their names forever etched in the annals of history as accomplices to unimaginable atrocities. Heinrich Himmler, the architect of the Holocaust, was a chilling example of blind loyalty and bureaucratic efficiency turned evil. Hermann Göring, the head of the Luftwaffe, was a charismatic but ruthless opportunist, driven by a thirst for power and prestige. Joseph Goebbels, the master of propaganda, possessed a keen intellect and a chilling ability to manipulate the masses. However, the relationship between Hitler and his inner circle was far from harmonious. It was a toxic mix of ambition, rivalry, and fear. Each man vied for Hitler's favor, aware that his displeasure could have deadly consequences. This created an atmosphere of paranoia and suspicion, where betrayal lurked around every corner. These men, despite their differences, were united by their shared belief in Hitler's warped ideology and their willingness to carry out his murderous orders. They became instruments of his will, their individual ambitions subsumed by the larger goal of achieving Hitler's twisted vision for Germany and the world.